Have you ever imagined trying to high-five someone who's standing 16 kilometers away? Sounds absurd, doesn't it? Yet by 2035, or even earlier if construction sticks to schedule, that idea might not feel so impossible. A massive $4 billion steel bridge is expected to stretch across the Red Sea, finally linking Africa and Asia in a way that feels almost symbolic, like two continents reaching out to shake hands. This project isn't just a daydream or an overambitious sketch on paper. Egyptian authorities have confirmed that planning is complete and the bridge is cleared for implementation. Officially named the King Salman bin Abdulaziz Bridge, locals have already given it a more poetic title, the Moses Bridge. Far from being just concrete and steel, this structure represents an attempt to close a historical divide that has shaped trade and travel routes for centuries. Imagine stepping out from the Egyptian resort city of Sharm el-Sheikh in the morning, cruising across a sun-drenched deck, and arriving on Saudi shores before it's even lunchtime. The journey, which currently involves ferries or longer detours, could be cut to just 30 minutes. For ordinary travelers, it sounds like convenience. For global trade, it's nothing less than a revolution. The question remains, is this just a grand shortcut, or could it become one of the most complex diplomatic bridges in history? To grasp its significance, look at the region from a satellite view at night. The Strait of Tiran, a slim stretch of water separating Egypt and Saudi Arabia, looks deceptively narrow, smaller than many commutes in a big city. Yet this small gap forces an enormous detour worth about $200 billion in trade every year. From trucks hauling goods to cargo ships stacked with raw materials, from pilgrims to weekend tourists, everyone is forced into longer, more expensive routes. This bottleneck hits Africa especially hard. Landlocked African nations feel the squeeze most as exporting goods becomes slower and more costly. In fact, a factory in Lagos can often ship its products to China faster than to nearby Riyadh. With sub-Saharan Africa's GDP projected to reach $4 trillion by 2030, this inefficiency acts like a brake on growth, diverting economic energy northward toward Europe or Far East instead of directly across to the Arabian Peninsula. The proposed bridge could flip that equation entirely. By creating new trade corridors, it has the potential to redraw the region's economic map. To make it happen, Saudi Arabia is reportedly funding the full $4 billion cost on its own, while Egypt is providing the land and the political push to finally cut through the bureaucracy that has delayed the project since it was first imagined back in 1988. If successful, this collaboration would replace weeks of maritime shipping with just hours of driving. The economic case is so strong it's almost irresistible. But building across the Red Sea isn't simple. It's an engineering challenge on a scale few projects have ever faced. Chinese engineers have now stepped into the design process, ensuring that when the bridge finally opens, their own technical benchmarks, like container dimensions, digital tracking systems, and customs protocols, will be woven directly into the region's infrastructure. In other words, the Red Sea crossing won't just connect two continents physically, but also digitally and commercially, aligning it with China's wider global network. Not everyone is watching with excitement, though. Washington views the project through a far different lens. With a naval fleet stationed nearby, the United States is focused on keeping the Strait of Tiran open for all international shipping. From a military perspective, a fixed bridge isn't only an economic asset, it's also a fixed and vulnerable target. That raises concerns about control over a choke point that has long been of strategic importance. Meanwhile, neighboring countries like Israel and Jordan are also cautious. Their ports in Aqaba benefit from the current trade routes, and a new bridge could siphon away a major share of that business. To compete, discussions have already surfaced about possible EU and Gulf-funded rail projects, one leading toward Haifa and another to Aqaba, potentially transforming this Moses Bridge from a simple land link into the centerpiece of a new regional trade triangle. The symbolism of that first truck driving across will be much larger than the cargo it carries. It will mark the beginning of fresh trade agreements, tariff adjustments, and possibly even new financial arrangements between Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. Yet the bridge isn't only about commerce, it also has profound cultural and spiritual weight. For more than 2 million Muslims who travel to Mecca each year for the Hajj, the bridge could change the pilgrimage experience forever. At present, many African pilgrims have to fly into Jeddah and then endure long, exhausting bus journeys. A direct road link from Cairo could shave up to 2 days off the trip, cutting costs and emissions in the process. Religious leaders have already begun referring to it as a road of mercy, envisioning a continuous pilgrimage route stretching from Lagos all the way to Mecca, with this bridge as its defining passage. Tourism, too, is bracing for a transformation. Picture a 48-hour road trip from Nairobi to Riyadh, punctuated with stops for Ethiopian coffee, Sudanese pastries, and sweet Saudi dates. Hotel groups are already eyeing coastal plots on both sides of the Red Sea, preparing for the flood of visitors who will want the bragging rights of saying, "I parked my car on 2 continents before lunch." But beyond the tourist appeal lies something deeper, the reshaping of cultural identity. For centuries, the Red Sea has served as a dividing line between the Arab and African worlds. This bridge has the potential to rewrite that story, forging a shared Afro-Arab identity rooted not in colonial borders, but in steel and concrete. Artists in Cairo are already sketching pylons shaped like Nubian and Bedouin figures holding hands, while hashtags like #handshake of continents are trending in multiple languages long before construction has even begun. Still, such an ambitious project casts a heavy environmental shadow. The Strait of Tiran is no empty stretch of water. It is an ecosystem teeming with life. Whale sharks, endangered dugongs, dolphins, and over 300 species of coral make this their home. Construction noise could disrupt the delicate echolocation of marine mammals, while dredging threatens to bury coral reefs under silt. The developers have responded with a 3-tier environmental protection plan. Robotic pile drivers will automatically shut down if dolphin clicks are detected. Artificial reef domes will be fixed to the pylons, doubling as coral nurseries and wave breakers. And perhaps most significantly, 5% of the total budget has been earmarked for a permanent marine conservation fund to support Red Sea ecosystems. Whether this is genuine stewardship or clever green marketing remains to be seen, but it could also become the largest privately financed reef protection effort in history. As of mid-2025, momentum is building. Environmental studies have been filed, financing is firmly secured, and even Sudan has quietly signaled that it won't object to transit rights. Construction is scheduled to begin in early 2026, with freight traffic expected by 2031, passenger access by 2033, and a full ceremonial opening in late 2035. Of course, that schedule assumes regional politics and domestic stability in Egypt remain steady. Any disruption could add months, if not years, to the timeline. But if all goes to plan, the world will witness a historic moment. A convoy of electric SUVs carrying African leaders across the bridge, broadcast live to millions. The next morning, life will carry on much as before, fishermen casting their nets, cargo ships drifting by, and gulls squabbling overhead. Yet something irreversible will have shifted. GPS apps will redraw global routes in real time. Textile shipments from Lagos will begin heading directly to Riyadh. Ethiopian coffee producers will lock in trucking contracts months in advance. Entire towns on either side of the bridge will mushroom into bustling trade hubs almost overnight. Travelers will proudly pose with one foot in Africa and the other in Asia, while social media lights up with live streams of the first crossings. Whether people call it the Moses Bridge, the King Salman Causeway, or the world's most expensive diplomatic handshake, the fact is clear: it has moved from dream to reality. The funding is secured, the engineering is mapped out, and the foundations are almost ready to be laid. This bridge could stitch 2 continents closer together than ever before. Yet its ultimate fate depends on politics, economics, and the fragile balance of the Red Sea itself. What's certain is that the day it opens, the map of global trade, and perhaps even identity, will be permanently redrawn.